developing this portal. This portal has been developed through a stakeholder engagement process. So we are happy to receive feedback on the tool, but hopefully it will help us to assist in plugging in some of the data gaps that exist in terms of waste and specifically plastic waste. I would like to thank first FCDO and the UK government and also the Save the Environment initiative for all the work that they did for the data collection for the portal. I'd also like to thank CPCIC, who will also be presenting today, as well as the plastic waste recycling companies that were able to provide us with some data to fill for the portal. And hopefully this will help for increasing investment, but also identifying some of the hotspots for plastic waste and ways that waste can be better valorized in different parts of the country. And I would also like to encourage all the online participants, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We have a section at 10:25 where we'll be able to take feedback and answer specific questions. We hope that this will be an interesting event for people and also familiarize people with the tool, but also to increase the awareness and discussion about plastic waste and what role that we can play in terms of improving plastic waste management. So in terms of the agenda for today, we have some welcome remarks, followed by a presentation by CPCIC, and then we'll go through the web portal, the functionality and its features, and then we'll have a feedback session, and then we'll be able to take the questions from the online participants and also participants in the room. So our first speaker, I would like to welcome Anna Wilson. Anna Wilson is the Development Director at the British High Commission in Kigali. Anna, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to see you all this morning. Yes, so I'm Anna Wilson, Development Director at the British High Commission Kigali, part of the FCDO. In previous times, I would have been the head of DFID here in Rwanda, but of course we merged about a year and a half ago, so brought our development and our diplomatic efforts together. And it's on issues like climate change and environmental action that are, of course, so critical that you really see the value of that, of bringing together our development programming, our development expertise, and our diplomatic action to really push for change. So I'm really pleased to be with you here today. I'm going to keep my remarks short because I'm really keen to hear from all the speakers. But yes, we're here to talk about plastic waste. Of course, one of the most pressing environmental concerns globally, and also a issue where Rwanda is really leading the debate in how we tackle plastic waste. So we've seen that through the bans on plastic bags and single-use plastics, and more recently at the UN Environmental Assembly, where Rwanda and Peru called for a binding global treaty to curb plastic pollution. So really topical here in Rwanda. The UK is obviously sort of very much prioritizing environmental action and also climate action. You know, globally, we did so through our leadership at COP26. And now, you know, more importantly, because it's looking ahead, we're doing so in support of Rwanda's efforts on climate and environmental action at CHOGM, and also looking at partnering with Egypt in their efforts in the lead up to COP27. But here in Rwanda specifically, we've been really proud to support Rwanda's ambitions to further reduce plastic waste and become a climate resilient, low carbon economy by partnering with the Global Green Growth Institute to develop this web portal to track plastic waste. So, I mean, you'll hear more from other speakers today about how the portal will work, but the main aim is to generate better data on plastics, the different types, the quantities, the location of plastic waste, and to make this data accessible to all, which is a fundamental step to encourage more circular waste solutions. By providing this better data on plastics, the portal will also help with the implementation of an extended producer responsibility EPR scheme, which the UK is supporting REMA to design through our Manufacturing Africa programme. And it's great to see colleagues from Manufacturing Africa here today as well. The EPR schemes based on a polluter pays principle, where companies put plastic packaging on the market and pay a fee which will go towards waste collection, sorting and recycling. And this scheme builds on its existing regulations, as well as a pilot project that Rema leads with the Private Sector Foundation. So I'd like to issue a big thanks to GGGI, the Safe Environment Initiative and the Cleaner Production and Climate Innovation Centre for their work in setting up the portal and leading the data collection. I'm sure it will prove a really useful tool going forward for government decision making, as well as connecting producers of waste with recycling companies, entrepreneurs, investors. And importantly, it's also part of the wider ecosystem of climate smart innovations in Rwanda that we're seeing flourishing, and really, really glad to see and really glad to be part of. So thank you very much for being here today. And I'm going to hand over. I look forward to hearing from all the speakers. Marakoso Chani.
Thank you, Anna. The next speaker we have is joining us via video conference. This is Helena Mcleod. She is the Deputy Director General and Head of Green Growth Planning and Implementation Division at the Global Green Growth Institute at the headquarters in Seoul, South Korea. Helena, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Michelle, and lovely to hear from Anna. Anna, I was with UK Aid with DFID for over a decade, so it's lovely to be in partnership with you from the GGGI side. And lovely to see Haith on the call as well, who's another colleague of mine from before. So it's my pleasure to be here today. Rwanda is the country very close to my heart. I've visited many times before, and I've always been so impressed by what has been achieved in terms of waste management. And the leadership of the government has been so impressive, but also the participation of the community as well. So I really want to congratulate the leadership of the government of Rwanda, along with the government of Peru, in advancing the international resolution on addressing plastic pollution. It's a really absolutely groundbreaking achievement, and we all now need to put it into action. And I want to acknowledge the leadership of the Minister of Environment, Dr. Jean-Jacques Mujawamaria, and the Director General of the Rwanda Environment Management Authority, Juliet Kabera. So plastic, of course, is something that is so useful. I mean, we use it for so many things, but it's also become such a big problem in so many countries. I've lived in Africa for many years, and I've worked in many countries in Africa. And Africa has some of the most outstanding countryside and landscapes. But I've seen over the last 2 decades this encroachment of waste, which affects the infrastructure, so clogs the waterways, overwhelms the waste management facilities, and is really increasingly causing such a significant problem. And of course, globally, in terms of the coastal areas and the harm it's doing to marine life. So it's, yes, such a wonderful thing in so many ways, but especially when it's a single-use plastic, we need to really get rid of that and find alternatives. So this is a unique opportunity. And in terms of looking at these alternatives like the biodegradable alternatives, there's also an urgent need to increase the processing capacity to sustainably manage, reuse and recycle plastic waste, especially in the cities. And I've had the benefit of working on waste management in a number of countries globally, including in Uganda. The opportunity is there to make such a difference, also in terms of reducing the amount of waste in the beginning. Plastic waste is expected to continue to increase globally, and so a concerted global effort is needed to increase accountability, address the sources of plastic pollution, and maximize the benefits of circularity by incentivizing the reuse and recycling of discarded plastic, and in particular, reducing the amount of single-use plastic we use. So this web portal launched today is GGGI's very modest contribution towards increasing opportunities for circularity by ensuring waste producers are able to connect to waste recyclers. The accounting and tracking of plastic waste is one small step forward in the effort to reduce the amount of plastic waste sent to landfill, to increase accountability for plastic pollution, and to promote a change in mindset and behaviour needed to recognise the real cost and value of waste. So in closing, I'd like to thank and commend the government of Rwanda again for its leadership and acknowledge the determination of the Ministry of Environment and Rwanda Environment Management Authority for their efforts in tackling plastic pollution. It is truly a global challenge that one nation or a single company cannot solve alone. But we are at GGGI committed to supporting these efforts as part of our mandate as an intergovernmental organisation. And personally, I want us to do much, much more. So it's great that you are doing this today. And I was so pleased to join today because it is very one of my personal passions in terms of how we overcome this challenge. So I applaud you and thank you for your leadership, and also thank the FCDO. On behalf of GGGI, we look forward to supporting the government of Rwanda, as well as our other member countries in identifying innovative solutions to address plastic pollution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Helena. The next speaker that we have is from CPCIC, the Cleaner Production and Climate Innovation Center. The speaker is Sylvie Mugabekazi. She's a technical expert at CPCIC, and she'll be talking about supporting the role of CPCIC in supporting circular economy initiatives and opportunities in plastic waste. Sylvie, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you very much. As she said, I'm Sylvie Mugabekazi. I'm here on behalf of the Cleaner Production and the Climate Innovation Center. So the Cleaner, maybe starting from the beginning, Cleaner Production and Climate Innovation Center is a government company that was born from the merge of the Rwanda Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, which was introduced as a support and program to Rwanda through REMA since 2008. And there was also a long envisioned the Climate Innovation Center, which they have a similar or complementing mandate. So it was created as a government company to support the green growth ambition of the country through promotion of resource efficiency and cleaner production practices and technology, but also climate innovations. Since 2019, that's when it was established. We are working to approach the industries, SMEs, to identify opportunity in greening, because we are running out of resources. So we are called to use them sustainably, so that we don't work toward 2050, but we think of 2100. What will the future use if we already have it's a long journey of since 2008 up to now. When it was introduced, it was like a program, just providing technical support, knowledge sharing, and through different program and projects implemented throughout a national institution, we were able to reach out to, by 2013, we have reached 35 industries, done awareness in 13 districts, and also academic institutions to see way of including sustainability in curricula opportunity that were there just to educate the future. And then by 2018, 2020, through another program which was shared into the region, we were able to reach out to more 42 industries through technical support, mainly to help them identify opportunity of reducing the inputs. We promote reduction of reuse, we promote the use of less resources, but you produce more. So how? Because in our factories, industry, and the way of producing, we usually have an identified or hidden waste that are from the input that we don't see in the product. So if we input more and we don't have them on the product to market, there are losses. So by doing so, we also contribute to increase productivity and also reduce the production cost. Because we promote that what was input be also found in the product, and where it is not possible, not to generate waste, but also byproduct. If an output is a byproduct, it means there are still some value in the output, which can be used throughout. So by doing so, if the country, the industry is not able to handle the byproduct, we create a network of other industries so that byproduct can be reused with another industry. So by doing so, we also reduce the waste to the landfill, and even within the industry, we create a safe environment for workers so that they are not working in an environment full of waste that they think it's really value, but it is not within their production process. So by creating that channel for sharing information, it also enables to contribute to improve the efficiency in the production. So we have also a cleaner production toolkit. When we provide technical support, we do so through a number of 6 or 7 interventions. The first is to assess what are the inputs, the kind of input an industry or a process is using. Is there any improvement needed in terms of material, in terms of water, which type of water, which quantity? Is it the amount needed, the energy? When we talk of energy, we look at the efficiency of equipment, the technology that is being used, and also we introduce that idea of using renewable sources of energy. Then we go to technology. Sometimes there are loopholes in the technology used in our industry. When you see the journey our industry has went on, in the past year, the investment done were second-hand processing machine from other country. So if an industry is starting, but with a second-hand machine that another industry has rejected because it is not efficient, it means our industry have started from an inefficiency in productivity. So we encourage them to do the cost-benefit analysis of their investment and let them know that if you do an investment at 100% productivity, that's when you will be able to break the even in the business environment. We also have improvement of operation practices. In this, we have a good housekeeping training, how to sort, how to correction of material, storage, so that also to reduce those losses, because we identify throughout that there are also inputs that not make the way in the process, but they are already lost during the handling, storage, and yet that is the cost. So the improvement of operation practices, we have also behavior change of people, switching light, having different switches by the length of the lighting line, so that to use the energy when it is needed. If we see just an example. Also in product, we promote less use of material, as I said, and also the choice to choose material that are not toxic, that will generate hazardous waste, difficult to handle. In this, we have green procurement. What is involved? What are the criteria while sourcing material? So it is also another area that we promote. We also promote on-site reuse and recycling, which can be on-site or through industrial symbiosis. And that's where the circular economy principles comes in. Yeah, when we are doing the circular economy, as you know, it is a big, it involve the whole value chain. But when we are thinking of waste generation, we close the loop. Before you send material or waste to the landfill, you need to identify what is the value I'm sending to the landfill. So we term that at what is the loss I'm sending to the landfill. It is not only waste, you need to value. So we have template, we share with them template, we value that in money. So that's when enterprise or business, they are now aware we are losing something. What can we do with this before it closed the gate? They need to value in terms of money so that at the end, they don't value the quantity of waste sent to the landfill, but the amount of money lost to the landfill. That's when we can have them implement the industrial symbiosis, enabling even in the factory, because in the sharing the experience, when we started, when an industry sought, they start seeing, we are having a pile of waste. Then you start just sort what is in your waste. So they go by sorting. They sort, you identify what do I have in my waste? Is there plastic? Is there metal? Is there paper? So that at the end of the day, they identify if there is any opportunity for reuse or recycling. So we also promote, in promoting the green industrialization, we need to have industry that can say, that can talk themselves that they are green. So they are performing, they are indicators, key performance indicators. If they can tell through resource efficiency, we are now the productivity. To have these 300 ml of water, we have used this amount of water. This is done through benchmarking. What are other best practices in other industry? So by comparing their production, their productivity with others, that's when they can compare their competitiveness on the market. Because if you go on the market with the competition, you can set the same price, but you are selling at a loss while others are making profit because you have produced at a loss. So when we work through resource efficiency, industries are able to identify what are their footprint in terms of cost, if I can say. We also promote low carbon. Of course, the greenhouse gas emission is a challenge. Climate change is a threat now. So we also highlight or enlighten them on their contribution to the rise of the greenhouse gas emissions. So through the options identified, we also work toward reducing those emissions from industry. Of course, creating climate resiliency, because they are also affected as the industry, especially those dealing with the agriculture or biological parts. They were not aware, but if they are not awakened on the threat, we will be caught up. They are setting their production line in accordance to business as usual, yet there are threats that can come from the climate change impact. So they need to be aware. The circular economy, the green technology and procurement have said. In the green industrialization also, we have to create green industry, but also promote green service. They cannot do so alone. They cannot achieve the greening alone. We need to have available technology for waste treatment. That's when we have green services. They need to be trained on what to do, because that is not their business. greening is not their business, but it affects them. So they need also technical support through green services, eco-design when they are designing their products. They need also advisory, even technology and knowledge to be able to achieve the greening. And also the recycling mechanism. Recycling is also a technology, but also knowledge and skills. Those are needed. They are not part of the product they are providing, but they should be also able to have access to those services. So it needs to go hands in hand. We not only green industry, but also we support green services. These are some of the advantages that we have seen by doing so. Fortunately, because we go, when we introduce a practice, we also have the cost required or the benefit that will be incurred by the industry, which also enable the industry to uptake the technology that we are sharing with them. And we have seen really a number of reduction in consumption of resources, mainly in SMEs, and when they have improved the process, way of working, and through monitoring, because this is a journey, you cannot achieve that in less than 3 months. You have to do training, you monitor the quick wins. There is also bigger investment that require long-term investment that the industries are encouraged to do. And if any have ever searched for the circular economy words in Google, you have encountered this butterfly diagram introduced by the Mercator and Kinsey institution. They are already pioneer and developed a number of researches on circular economy. When we talk of circular economy, we don't have to see them at the waste stage. It needs to start from the design. We need to create products that are able to be recycled, that are able to be refurbished, that are able to be reused, that are able to be maintained for long term. That is the first step. Otherwise, when we talk of waste and circular economy, it means we have failed. We have created a waste in the environment. So we shouldn't be creating a waste in environment. We should have those services that enable to maintain material in the environment for the long term, not just I use and dispose. So in circular economy, we have two parts. Of course, there are regeneration, material that can be regenerated. If you have created like plants or other things that grow from the environment, those are regenerated, but also our ways of handling them create threat. That's why also circular economy is not, when we talk of circular economy, we don't see it as manufactured. Also at home, on farm, we should be thinking of circular economy because it's regenerate, but if it is mishandled, then we have also a problem. Like when we go to the landfill, you see that this should not be there. It should be in the land regenerating, but how is it going there? We need to create means of sorting waste before they end up to the landfill, composting, having those services that can just halt the waste, biological waste going to the landfill, and they are treated in the meanwhile before they reach there, so that we promote regeneration. The same to the other technical inputs that they called finite. Those ones that are not regenerating, that we take from the land, they should also be handled from the part. If you are designing a part of a material, being biological or anything, you need to think of how long can it stay in the environment? What am I going to add that can sustain that long term. If you already have a product, how is it able to be remanufactured, repaired? You also have a service beside that will enable that, because we have created that in the current way of consumption. We need new things coming up. So we need to think out of the box, to go out of innovation. How am I going to renew the material inside, not only the product? Because usually if I have an old shoes, I buy another new shoes, but how can it be redesigned with less material and stay in production? So I wanted really just that we discuss circular economy by design, not just to look at the waste part of it, of managing the resources. So, but also when we go to the waste part, let's come back to our topic of today. When we talk of waste management and circular economy, it's need really to start in our home, in the industry, and everything. When we are dealing with waste, we promote the sorting in terms of material and using different code. This was borrowed from other material, but at the end, we need to introduce the industrial symbiosis in business so that they are able to have that. So this portal really, it's a milestone in achieving the industrial symbiosis effectiveness, because it is there, but when you sort and you don't have where to put the material, you end up sending them to the landfill, which is beneficial in Kigali and other cities because we have waste collection service. But there are also other industries that are located up country. They don't have that privilege of waste management services. So there should be that link of sharing information. I'm having this amount of waste that I am not using. So if you can come and take them, it will be really, it's an opportunity for the sector. So for the CPCIC, in the long journey that we have gone, the circular economy, we have tried to validate those topics, because through resource efficiency, industries have started sorting, but then we wondered how are they going to manage this waste? If they have reduced, yes, waste that can be in their production, but if they're having paper and they are producing juice, how are they going to use the paper? Yes, they have sorted, it is a huge amount. So that's why we have conducted a validation, a sort of pilot, to see if they can connect with other industry, but also create value for money. You are not donating the byproduct or the sorted waste for free, but you can give them to a lesser price, so that even the industry that is receiving the byproduct is acquiring the byproduct at a lower price, but also making profit. So it's a win-win situation when they are implementing the industrial symbiosis. So we're able to implement that in a dairy sector, a dairy industry, how to create that network of exchange of material, rather than having the burden of treating dairy waste, liquid waste. Water that contain dairy product is very hard to treat, it's a cost, but how can we sort? Before it is the waste, how can we sort the like milk product or spoiled milk, and also be able to give it away? So dairy waste, they can be used as manure or animal feed, if they're depending on the extent of course, safety is thought of. There are also other beverages. You know, we have the banana, which is now it is a sort of cash crop in the country. It is really being produced and adding value, but we have a huge amount of waste generated from banana, because half of the quantity purchased is disposed as waste. So how do we create that channel? You remember the butterfly, there is the regeneration. So giving back to the nature, but how do we do it properly so that we don't also affect the emissions and everything? There is a channel of connecting with farmers, but also if they have that quantity well sorted, they end up having some money from the industry. It is not a burden, but also because they have sorted, it is value. Farmers, they come and get at a certain cost, which ended up showing beneficial benefit to both, to the industry and also to the farmers. Tea factories, garment and other recyclers, connecting them was we were able to validate that it can work. We also have now another initiative that we are working with other partners. We have, can you go next slide, please? These are the amount of waste that were able to be corrected, sorted. This is the sorted amount, not just the garbage truck mixed. We were able to identify and then assign, by creating the network, identify what is the money corrected by industry through the industrial symbiosis. It is less, but it was a short period. And if it is applied anyway, this quantity being diverted to the landfill at the long run will have a big impact. This was different products that were channeled through that industrial symbiosis network established. And we hope it is still running because the network were established when we ended the pilot. So now we are doing a circular food system project in Rwanda. You know, with the threat of climate change and also population growth and being in city, food security is a challenge. But also we have food security, we also have food waste and losses. So we are working to see how is the environment, the policy environment enabling opportunity in management or establishing a circular food system, but also to see how is the market ready to implement the food circular system. We are doing so with other partners. Please, next. Other partner, we have the World Resource Institute. We have the Africa Circular Economy Network. Next. We have Resonance, which is a consultants company, and PACE to work towards this project is a 3-year project, but by September, we hope to have the first report on the policy environment on creating a circular food system, but also the market readiness for the implementation of the circular food system towards reduction of food waste and losses, because possibly there is in the country as it is elsewhere. So these, I call them challenges, but they are also opportunity. For the circular economy, being for plastic and other material, being from design of material, there are opportunities that are there to be tackled. Yeah, to be worked on. The first, it is to interest consumers and the market on the circular economy. Sometimes, of course, there are also other challenges. Sometimes the market is not ready to consume products that are recycled, that are reused. So they need also to see that advantages being in place, being in the way of giving back to the environment, because they are reducing generation of waste. So there is also an opportunity to create interest and awareness in the community. There is also the hesitant company culture. Companies are not yet ready to invest in recycling, in that workshop in research and development for their product, in the design of their product. They don't see yet the opportunity in the market. Is it really viable? If I am to reduce the material in my packaging, sometimes it is mishandled on the market. I can have losses, but even the market, as I was saying, is not ready to uptake that step taken by the industry in reducing the material used, for example, in the packaging. They see it is not convenient, they are not really receptive. Another one, it is the economic barrier and access to finance, because sometimes like recycling, environmental services are very expensive, and sometimes they don't pay back. This is an opportunity for economists and other business people to look on ways of making it viable, making it profitable, so that we have other startups and people tackling in the challenge that we are having of waste management. There is also low or lack of technical skills and ability of the workforce. Of course, when we are recycling plastic, you can see that if I put it on a shredder, it can shred, then I have pellets. But then what is the material, the content of material? Maybe it is not easy to recycle. You are not informed. You need to test what was the material in my waste so that I know the purpose of recycling or the reuse. There is also a challenge of dumped waste somewhere in the past year, that when it rains or anytime, that's when you can see that we are still having a challenge. When you go to Nyabugogo and it has rained, you see that people are still littering plastic and everywhere. So apart from the awareness, we also need to work to reduce this. I have also added grass waste because they are hazardous in industry and they need to be really addressed. We need also to raise more awareness to industry, creating an enabling environment for circular economy. Because it is expensive, because there is lack of knowledge or low knowledge and technical skills, there need really to be a policy environment that is enabling, introducing curricula of sustainability in different courses that are delivered in the universities, creating incentives, taxes, or other reduction for the people that are venturing in the business. There is also a challenge of safety, because when we have already created waste, it is difficult to handle. So to have people working on sorting and everything, it is a challenge also to be addressed, which is also an opportunity for creating more service for sorting industry for sorting waste at the source, so that to address all of this. So, of course, talking of plastic, we need to have plastic waste on the market. They are there, they are available, they can be appealing. We need to raise that awareness of recycled material. These are different plastic material that we can use to have people really able to buy, but also to include the labeling of recycled material on the market. So that if we tell people you need to buy a recycled material, they should be aware, what am I buying? What is my impact? So to have those green industry or green services that are in the sector, be able to market themselves as such, as contributing to sustainability. So thank you very much on behalf of the CPCIC. That's what we have been able to contribute, and it is at the beginning. We are still in the journey, and please, if any recommendation, any question, you are welcome. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Sylvie. It's great that we had our first 3 speakers. I'm also meant to mention that our deputy director, she will be coming to Kigali in May, so perhaps we could have a meeting once she's here. The next speaker is Joseph Gaga. He's a web developer and he will be demonstrating the web portal. I should also mention we received a comment online that CPCIC is doing great work. This is from Rwanda Mountain Tea. So please feel free to make comments as we demonstrate the portal, and we can take those comments down and questions so that we can answer them in the next segment. So next speaker is Joseph Gaga. Thank you.
Thank you so much and good morning. I'll be doing the presentation from the laptop, but everything will be visible here. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. I'm presenting the waste management portal. And as we can see, this is the home page. Yes. Yes, thank you so much. On the home page, when someone visits the waste plastic waste portal, there's a search option, so you can search on any particular plastic waste you could be looking for. But also you can also browse on the map to identify the different location of that particular waste. This content can be provided by recycling companies or people who provide waste as the byproduct of their services. And also people who need waste can be able to indicate what they need. So when you visit the portal, we have a dashboard. We go through the different sections of the portal. We have a map. We have offers. That means people who have waste and they have it for sale. We have requests from people who need waste. Then we have FAQs, and then about a description about the portal itself. And then we have a login. You need to log in order to indicate that you have waste, so it is legible. And then you need to register to have an account in the portal. That means for the waste providers and also for people who need waste, who need to indicate their requests. And then we have a link to the waste base as it will be demonstrated by someone else. And then we have statistics so far, what has been added on the portal, a number of kilograms plastic waste, then there are types of the waste, the offers, 11 offers, and then 3 requests. When we scroll down, we're able to browse the map of the different offers. So you can see the offer, the plastic that's available, the plastic waste. You see the details, the kind of plastic, the amount stored, the location, the phone number. So if you're interested in this particular waste, you can be able to contact this person by email or by phone. And on the right, we have recent offers. Someone needs PS type of waste, of plastic waste, and they need the amount is indicated, as well as the same applies to the requests. This is the recent requests. When you scroll down, we have plastic waste availability by location. We can see that it will be updated as people add more waste over time in the portal. And then here it shows also the plastic waste availability by type. So you see most of the plastic waste that has been added to the portal is for this type. And then also by source, there's recycling companies and also commercial areas and others. So it is statistical information regarding the waste that has been made available on the portal. And then we have market prices for these particular types of waste, which can be updated over time depending on the current process, current market price. And then we have the implementers of this particular portal. So when we go to the map itself, someone is able to browse depending on what they want. They can search by district, they can search by source, they can search by type if they need a particular type of waste, so they can search for that particular type of waste and browse and be able to contact that particular person who has that waste. So you can browse by type, you can browse by source, you can browse by district. If you need to know, need waste in Gasabo, so you have two people who indicated they have waste in Gasabo, so you're able to contact them. So you can either search by name, you can search by type, you can combine all the four, and then you can also set it back. Then we have offers, which is a list of people who have indicated that they have waste. So it shows the type of waste, the quantity available, the source, the location, the district, the name of the person or company, the phone number and the email. So you can also filter this as well by source, by district, by location. So if you need waste from recycling companies, we have 4 items here. So this is for people, for companies or industries which need plastic waste as a raw material. They can visit on the offers section and be able to see available offers for plastic waste. So the same applies to requests. If they have plastic waste, and maybe they need to see who needs that particular plastic waste. We have 3 requests here, which indicates the type of waste, the quantity, and then the details of the person, what that particular person wants, and the names, the phone number, the email, and the district as well. So you can contact that person if you have that particular kind of waste. You can also filter by waste type needed, by district, or by name. And then we have the frequently asked questions, which is a section, an informative section, which will be having different questions answered, about plastic waste in general. So these are the 4 questions, but more will be added over time. And then we have about, which explains about the portal, the context. It's a small description about the portal. Yes. So basically what the portal does, it connects people who need waste. That means companies or industries which use waste as a raw material, and then people who are providing the waste, so that they can be able to use it as a marketplace to offer waste or to get waste in their day-to-day activities. Yes, thank you so much. That's the introduction. Questions and feedback, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. First, we'll start. Do we have any questions in the room? I should mention that this is a web portal. This is the first version, but we're expecting to make improvements, change some of the features, and add features as needed. So we welcome your feedback and your questions at this time. Questions in the room?
Congratulations for a very detailed portal. I really think it's going to facilitate data collection for GGGI and really access to waste for the waste recycle. My question is this portal available in Kinyarwanda?
Thank you so much. Currently it's in English, but it can be scaled to cover as many languages as possible. But for now it is in English.
Thank you very much. That exactly was my question, because sometimes when we design something which is really interesting and impactful in the community, we really forgot about our community, that where they are going to give us the details, where they're going to give us the right information in the field. So my second question goes to Sylvie. I'm going to ask, she said that the consumer are not ready to consume the circular economy products, but what are you doing as a CPIC to address that challenge that the community have to consume that product? Because we really need the alternatives and incentives that are going to work in the community. We don't really need like those alternatives that is going to be written in the policies, that is going to be written in the books only. We need that is making impact in the community. So how are you addressing that challenge? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the good question. As I said, it is a challenge, but also an opportunity. So for us, as we plan and going forward, it's through creation of awareness, content material that inform what is a recycled product and why they should buy them. And there is also a challenge I highlighted of access to finance, whereby the recycling industry, they need to improve the recycling technology so that to have those products appealing. Sometimes they are reluctant on the quality, the finishing, mainly if it is plastic, but it's through awareness, but also to have those products being competitive on the market. When they are at a lower price, they are not well finished, so the market is not accepting the quality. And when they invest more to improve the quality, they end up being expensive more than the virgin material. So it's through, it's a combination. It is not a one-man journey or one institution. It is a combination. There need to be a strategy of having the material ready for the market, the policy enabling, but also then we get the market ready to accept those products. So it's a journey. It's not one process for CPCIC, but we are there. We have already created that demand. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some questions online. Just quickly, we have to stop the feedback session at 10:45, so we keep the time. But one question is about household waste. Is this something that we could also add to the portal, and at what quantity? So, yes.
Thank you so much for the work. My name is Sengoga Desire. I work for GGGI Rwanda on the waste and circular economy programs. I would like to ask if we can extend the content of the portal to the whole waste supply chain. For example, the waste generation. How much Rwanda is generating in terms of plastic waste. If we can also have it in the portal, and then we can track at how much we are collecting, because we have what is collected by few people and few business people who want the same waste, but we don't really know how much have we collected the whole country, how much have we generated, how much are we selling and buying, and also how much are we losing, because part of the waste, plastic waste specifically, is not collected by anyone. Maybe they end up in the landfill, they end up in the water, they end up in the environment. So if the portal could also extend how much are we generating, how much are we collecting, and how much even are we losing, that could inspire and inform other actors to really intervene, because there's a waste we are not collecting, and then other people can focus on getting that waste.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I believe that can be done. It can be an agreement between CPIC and GGGI, but the portal can be scaled to cover as many types of waste as possible, not only plastic, but yes, it is possible.
We had another question online from Helena Mcleod. It was about whether or not the portal could be expanded to include other types of waste, so other waste streams like metal, glass, and things of that nature. So Joseph, in terms of the functionality, is that something that could also be added in the future?
Yes, it can be done. It is related to his question as well. It can be done. It can be scaled to cover all types of waste, not only plastic, but all kinds of waste. It can be achieved, yes.
Thank you. The portal has a lot of potential, but it's only as good as the data that we're able to include into it. So it's possible to expand its use, to add Kinyarwanda, to add other features. And we really encourage people to provide feedback at this time so that we can make the portal more useful, and also to use the data to analyze and to provide information to policymakers and also development partners in terms of what some of the gaps are, what some of the needs are. The portal is not exhaustive, it's just a start, but hopefully the more stakeholders that we have that are able to use the portal, that can add data as part of their projects. There's a lot of research and analysis and assessments that have been done, and we can use the portal as a tool to improve decision making. So in terms of the other types of materials, that's possible. Also in terms of household waste, that's a little bit difficult. We talked about having a minimum in terms of adding it to the portal. Otherwise, it may be a little difficult in order to track everything and to have all the different entries be the most useful as possible. But that's something that we can discuss in further iterations of the portal. So we had another question in the room.
Oh. Remember what I'm going to. I should ask after. Okay.
Yes, we have a question from Juvenile Mukurarinda. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I also wanted to emphasize on the quantities at the household. It's not really, I'd say it is really difficult, but there are also other initiatives that are being done by the Ministry of Environment of introducing the deposit return schemes. So this is something that we can look into, and how we can even register those deposit return schemes. So my questions was actually, I am to address the questions to CPCIC. So one is the toolkit free and available for public to check whether it is something that someone who is introducing an industry that can use? That is one question. And another question is around the functionality of CPCIC. So given the fact that it is a company, how are you really working with the local industries? Are you charging fees to these industries? And how is it really set? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juvenal, for the good questions. I will start by the second question about the functionality of CPCIC. As I said, we started as a program and implementing support projects, and it is still the case. We are set to mobilize resources so as to reach out to more industries and SMEs, of course, not geared toward making profit, but to be sustainable, to stay and support. And we also have another part of business advisory services, where for a particular industry having a challenge towards meeting environmental performance, we are there to provide the service at a fee. But when it is in a particular project or support or technical support, it's free of charge, or it depends on the terms of the project. Yeah. To the second, about the RECEP toolkit, We use it as an assessment tool when we are providing support, so it can be given to an industry being in the program for free. Thank you. For reference and benchmarking. Thank you. It's both. Yeah, both part. Thank you.
We have another question from in the room. If you could introduce yourself and then go ahead to ask your question.
Thank you so much. My name is Dedan Nishimwe, and I work for the Rwanda Development Board within the Duro Accelerator Division, and I am a sector lead for green economy. My question is about this e-portal. First of all, it's a good portal, and it looks like it's user-friendly, and thanks for someone who developed this e-portal. But my question is, what kind of strategies are you going to use to make the local community and the industries be aware of this e-portal? That one. And the second one, I have seen that you needed to register for this e-portal in order to maybe to offer your waste to someone, whoever is interested in that waste. Are you going to charge for someone who is registering for this portal, or it's a free of charge?
Thank you. I can answer the second question first. It's free of charge. We're managing the web portal for the next 2.5 years, and we'll be able to gather some data and statistics from its use, the number of users and things of that nature, which is really useful for us. But it will be free of charge for users. And then Joseph can answer the first question.
Yeah, thank you so much. For the first question in terms of promoting the portal, I believe there's been some contact between some waste providers, recycling companies, some hotels. So more promotion will be taking place over time as the portal gets used. But then also individuals who collect plastic and need to have it for sale will also be aware in some way or another. So I believe, yes, there should be a promotional plan. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. My question is to Joseph. I wanted to know if what happened when a posted material is bought or is already exchanged. Is there a tick option, like it is not available? What happens? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's an option whereby when that particular kind of waste has been purchased, you indicate that it has been purchased, so it doesn't appear on map, but then it will appear on the archives of waste that has been bought this month, last year, the kind of waste. There's a different page for an archive to display the waste which was taken.
Thank you. My name is Aimable Rwanzunga. I am here representing COPED, but I work with other companies also. So we are also working and very interested in circular solutions. So I would like to say that the portal is a very good idea, and it's really going to be useful. I just wanted to give maybe a few inputs on the portal. One is maybe you will need to think about the users of the portal. You will need probably to define whether it is used by traders of plastics or whether it's going to be used by individuals to make sure, is it just an informative, like a portal that gives an information about the plastics which are there in the environment, or is it a tool that people can use to trade, like those who are selling and those who are buying? So once you define that, also you will need probably to to think on how you update the data so that you have real-time data. Let's say I was having 500 kilograms of plastics, and if someone wants to buy from me, they will send me an email, and then we'll trade how we update that information on the portal so that someone else will know that that quantity is no longer there. So my view is that probably you will have to consider people who have some substantial amounts of quantities, because there you also think of logistics. If I have 5 kilograms of PET, I will not put them on the portal to sell them, because someone who comes to buy 5 kilograms of PET, let's say in Remera from Nyamirambo, it wouldn't be easy. So probably if I have some tons of plastics, then I can trade. And also another input is like, because you are developing this one, it's going to be very useful, but there are some other companies or other individuals developing other solutions. You can also think of how you can integrate with other systems which are working in the same area so that the information can be synchronized and integrated on the puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestions. These are well noted, and we can continue to improve the web portal to make sure it's as useful and as informative as possible. We have to move to the next speaker so that we keep the time. Our next presenter is Cameron Smith. He is the founder of Unwaste, and he'll be presenting via video conference on the waste-based data app and the role of data in beating plastic pollution and comparative analysis in the region. So I welcome Cameron Smith as our next presenter. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. I'm reaching you from Maputo, right at the bottom of Mozambique. I'm going to talk today a little bit about our waste-based data application, and then I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about what we found about the data that was collected in Rwanda by GGGI and the organizations collaborating with it, and compare that to the data we've collected in other countries in East Africa. And at the end, give some pointers for maybe what could be some next steps based on that data. So I think to start with, let me just share a screen. I'm actually going to share the dashboard that was recently presented. I hope you can see that. If I click on this link, waste-based, which links directly to one of the reports in our data portal, we should be able to see here the summary of data collected in the month of March in Rwanda. This is data about plastic bottles down to the level of the individual product and the barcode, and we can see here the quantities. This is ordered in descending order, so we can see that a certain number of products have had a disproportionate impact. For instance, this product by Azam, which is actually a Tanzanian owned brand, was found far more than any other bottle in the sampling. And I think Faida, after me, is going to speak a bit more about that. Our portal allows this information to be shared as a link. It can be downloaded so that you can open it in Excel. You can, for instance, look for data in other countries as well. So if I, for instance, look for, let's say, Tanzania, a neighboring country, I can leave the same date parameters. So we're still looking at the same period, and we can see that there's a completely different picture of the data that was collected in Tanzania. There's various reports here, and this data is open to the public, and it can be easily shared. By simply clicking here, copy link, you can send that link in WhatsApp, you can send it in email, and the other person can also receive the same information. So this data is collected by a free app that you can download in the Play Store, or you can use as an instant app online or on your Apple phone, although we find that most people in Africa tend to have Android phones, not Apple phones. I'll now share a short presentation to show you a little bit more about what we found with the data. Give me 1 second. I hope you can all see that. Nobody complains, so I'll assume that you can. This is data that was collected over the month of March 2022, this month, by GGGI and several other organizations working with GGGI. The data was collected both in the wild, that is in public spaces, and in the yards of recycling companies. I think Faida will talk a bit more about that. I put here the addresses of our data portal, wastebase.org, and if somebody wants to use the app, they can visit this site, plastictracking.app, on their mobile phone. We are a social enterprise based in the UK, but very much focused on sub-Saharan Africa. We build tools for promoting the circularity of plastic in developing countries. I myself am based in Mozambique, and we believe that extended producer responsibility, EPR, which the first speaker spoke about, is absolutely important and critical to solve the plastic waste issue for fast-moving consumer goods. Plastic in many ways is a perfect material for these products. It's got wonderful properties of protection from moisture, of physical robustness, of not decaying, and yet those same properties make it a complete nightmare for environmental purposes because it's so durable. We believe that only by the price of any product that uses plastic, when it's sold, incorporating the full cost of the life of that product after it leaves the consumer's hands, can we fund the kind of initiatives that the technical specialist spoke about earlier, about actually doing something else with the waste apart from just throwing it away or burning it. So one of our products is waste-based data, which is the product I just showed you. And what that does is provide a way to link plastic waste specifically to the brand that owns it, or specifically to link any bottle or bottle-like product that is found to the product that it is from. It's normally from a specific product with a barcode. Link that product to a brand and link that product to a company. The company being the ultimate beneficial owner of that brand. It may not be the same company who actually manufactured those bottles. The manufacturer and the designer of the product may be based in another country, and they then made a franchising agreement or a concession agreement to a manufacturing plant in a different country to manufacture them. But the design, the conception, and normally a significant amount of the profit from producing that bottle and effectively putting it in the environment comes from the brand owner. So what we want to do is provide people with a way to see in any country which brand owners are producing the majority of the plastic bottles and bottle-like containers that are found in the environment, which is a first step to then bringing those producers on board to take on extended responsibility and actually finance the full life cycle handling of the plastic that they produce, rather than getting it to the consumer's hands. Once the consumer drinks it, maybe they take 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to consume that product, they deposit it or throw it away. And after that, depending on the type of plastic, it can last in the environment between 100 and 450 years. So let's go into a little bit the data. We collect data from several other countries in Eastern Africa, which I've listed here on the right. And what we found, some key points, are that over 90% of the waste is beverage bottles. That means water for drinking and soda or soft drinks. Beverage bottles are almost always, basically always PET or PET. And what that means is, if Rwanda is interested in improving the situation of discarded plastic waste packaging, you have to have the beverage sector participating as a key actor, because they are disproportionately the producer of most of that kind of waste. We've also found that in each of these countries in East Africa, at least 45% and as much as 85% of the waste in terms of plastic bottles or bottle-like containers comes from only 5 manufacturers. So what that means is, although you might find more than 100 manufacturers active in the market, maybe as many as 200, the top 5 of those have a gigantic contribution to the overall volume of waste. It's not an equal game. It's a game where a small number of companies have the lion's share of the market. And what that means is that those companies, if you get them on board to do some innovative practices, that can have a significant impact on the waste that you find in the environment. In every market, there's one company that's always present, not always the leader. It's the Coca-Cola company based in Atlanta in the United States. Not a surprise. It's also the largest producer of plastic bottles in the world every year. There are several regional firms from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Zambia, who sell their products across border, and we're going to see that. And we have a new challenge which is coming up, which is that the sale of yogurt in yogurt pots and plastic sachets to contain liquids is increasing. And that's something that's a big challenge because those kind of pots typically are less attractive to recyclers. So they're less attractive to informal waste pickers. So it's even harder to find an economically viable way to collect those products and get them to a place where they can be reprocessed. Let's now look at the data that we've from Rwanda. First of all, let's have a look at it by sector. If we look at this big circle, this big pie chart, we can see that nearly 75% of the plastic in bottles found in Rwanda come from the beverage sector, 4% come from the food sector, about 3% comes from household and personal care, which is things like cleaning products, moisturizing cream, that kind of product, hand washing products. And we've got about 18%, which is put as not recorded. That means that the waste was recorded, but nobody has yet gone through to match that waste to a particular industry sector. From experience, that's something that it takes another couple of months, and hopefully that's something that GGGI will be doing over the next months. But probably what you're going to end up with is about nearly 90% beverage, about 5 or 6% food, and about 3 or 4% household and personal care. So a slightly lower percentage of beverage compared to other countries in the region, but still beverage having the lion's share of the contribution to discarded liquid containers. So you really need to get the big beverage producers on board in any initiative to reduce this kind of waste. If we go to the brand ownership, first let's look at East Africa, excluding Rwanda. Oops, I've gone forward, apologies. Let me just go back. Give me 1 second. Somehow I've accidentally clicked on the wrong button. So let me see if I can go backwards. Here we are. Here we are for the, apologies for that. The regional brand ownership, not surprisingly, Coca-Cola is the leader because it's the only company that produces and sells plastic in every one of the markets, every one of the countries. Second is Bakresha Group, which is a large group based in Tanzania. Third is Metal Group, also based in Tanzania. Fourth is Trade Kings, which is an industrial combine based in Zambia. Coca-Cola is shown in red because it's the only one that's in every market. The countries, the ones in yellow, are all in at least 3 of the markets. So what we can see is that although Coca-Cola, which is a company based outside of the continent of Africa, is the lead contributor, the other main contributors out of the top 10 are all companies, almost all companies based in the region, which means it should be fairly easy to talk to them, particularly in countries of the East African community, and get them to adopt a more environmentally holistic attitude to the treatment of the waste that they essentially produce. If we now move on to Rwanda, what we find is quite interesting. By far, the number 1 producer is Bakresha Group, again from Tanzania. The second is Motisan Group, also from Tanzania. And the third is a local company, Sulfur Rwanda Industries. There's quite a few products that have not yet been classified that I see are also from Sulfur. So I think that when the final classification is done, Sulfur's share might go up a little bit. We've got Coca-Cola here in 4th place. And then we've got various brands that have not yet been mapped to manufacturers in 5th place, and some other manufacturers from the region or globally with a very small share. So again, what we see is that a very small number of companies, really the top 5, have a disproportionate share of contribution to the waste. So it means you don't have to, at the start, reach out to 100 different companies. You can, but who you really need to get on board are those top 5 companies to get something moving. And I think that the data portal that was shown in the previous session is a very interesting step towards that. So what would be really interesting is to do an outreach effort, as somebody mentioned, and focus that outreach effort on getting these regional and global companies to be regularly consulting the portal and contributing data to it. If I can talk about next steps from looking at these data, some of these are regular, things that would be done every month or maybe on a quarterly basis, and some of these are one-off. Regularly would be sharing data to producers. I think that the portal is there already. I also think that sending letters and email newsletters is important because the portal can be there, but you really want the producers to be looking at it every month. And those producers, at least, who profess that they're taking measures to reduce their plastic impact, you would hope to see that their market share of the pollution starts to decrease every month. Another aspect is measuring density in audit areas. That's an advanced feature our app has got. I've shown a screenshot here of it. The idea of density is to measure plastic waste relative to the surface area of ground in which that waste was found. And this allows you to have measures that are comparable over time and comparable between different places, different cities in Rwanda, or a city in Rwanda and a city in Tanzania, for instance. Otherwise, you have difficulty controlling for the fact that some audits can cover a wide area of ground and thus collect a lot of waste, and others can measure a smaller area of ground and collect less waste, and that can skew your data a little bit. So what we typically recommend is that on an ongoing basis, you identify certain representative areas of particular cities, and every month you go back to that same exact area and you sweep it for all plastic waste and you record the results, and then you compare that with previous months. Finally, there's sampling at recyclers. This is something that's on a one-off basis. I think GGGI already did this month, is making an agreement with recyclers to maybe once a week take a sack of their plastic waste as it comes in. It typically comes in from the same catchment area every month. And just that sack, you don't need to take every bottle in the recycling yard. That would be a huge amount of effort. You can put that sack on the ground, you can sort it into brands, and then you can, in about 45 minutes, record that data into our platform. And if you do that over time, you get a consistent sampling of the kind of plastic waste that's being discarded, which the recyclers are collecting. One-off things would be to identify what we call waste escape hotspots. Not all retail channels are equal. In other countries, for instance, we found that informal drinking dens, which are maybe where somebody has a small metal structure or a small wooden structure, and they have a power supply and they have a couple of fridges, and on Fridays and Saturdays, people come to drink there. They drink beer, other people drink soft drinks. The beer bottles fall on the ground. Sometimes they're returned, sometimes they break and they crush into the sand. The plastic doesn't crush. And because it's light, if you don't collect that waste within about a day or 2 days, it gets blown by the wind, it gets into vegetation, and the cost of collecting it goes up significantly. So what that means is identifying spots where plastic waste is discarded on the ground in high quantities. You can then talk to the municipal services and get them to maybe adjust their collection routes so that on certain days of the week, they know that they need to go to those places and they collect the plastic waste before the wind has had a chance to spread it around in the vegetation, and you thereby increase your recycling rates without a significant cost. We also have what some countries do, which is recording the bills of materials of the products. What you can say is that if you have a certain bottle, a 500 milliliter bottle of Azam energy drink, which is the top waste product that was found in Rwanda this month, the weight of every bottle is the same. If you weigh a bunch of bottles, you get an accurate weighing. You record that in the system. From that point on, you can calculate the exact weight of that bottle. Rather than just the number of bottles, you can calculate the weight of plastic and what color it is and the kind of material it is that has been collected in different places in different times. And that is relevant to a lot of the work on value chains that one of the previous speakers spoke about, because different colors and types of plastic material have different attractiveness to recyclers and reprocessors. I hope I've left a little bit of time for some questions if anyone has them. I've put up on the right-hand side places where you can contact us by Twitter or email, DMs or I open on Twitter. And I've also put up links if anyone wants to have a look at the our platform itself. I'd like to end by saying thank you to GGG Rwanda for inviting us to speak here and also for contributing data to our platform. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to take questions if anyone has questions.
Thank you very much, Cameron. The app really helped us to add some real detailed and granular data and information to our data collection efforts. It was extremely helpful. And I also liked a lot of your comments in terms of how this data is aggregated at the East African community level. So that's something that I think we can talk about some of our other country offices in Ethiopia and Uganda and see how we can best leverage this information. Does anyone have any questions for Cameron before we move to our next speaker? Any questions online? Oh. Anj, please. Let's do Anj.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Cameron, for the good presentation. Yeah, my question is, when you track those plastic bottles, you mentioned, we saw that Coca-Cola is the leading in producing a lot of plastic bottles. I want to know, how do you work with those producers? Are you sharing the information to them so that they can intervene in maybe in taking back those plastic bottles? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. It's a good question. What we do is we work with what we call data partners in every country, and we support that we allow the data partner to speak to the bottling institution in its country. So for instance, our partners in Mozambique do have an arrangement with Coca-Cola where it provides a small subsidy that's not ideal, but it helps to incentivize the collection of plastic. Next quarter, we're going to launch a feature whereby automatically on social media, we're going to stream regular data about those each different brand, not just Coca-Cola, it's obviously the dominant brand, but any brand that's on social media. Every time it reaches another 100 bottles detected in any country, we're going to automatically post that on their social media stream. And that's, if I'm honest, it's to create a little bit of discomfort for them, because one of the things that frustrated us when we set up this platform 2 years ago is that if you go to developed countries such as the United Kingdom, where I'm originally from, you now have, because of regulation and because of public sentiment, you now have most brands rushing to say that they at least use 30% recycled content in their PET bottles. And some have even gone to 100%. Now, they obviously have the technology and the operational know-how to do that. But when you go to sub-Saharan Africa, with the exception of some very expensive brands also owned by Coca-Cola in South Africa, you get 0%. So what we want to do is to put it on social media, which is a global thing. It's not limited to one country, that consumers in the wealthy countries can see that, okay, in this country, when I buy from Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whoever, or Unilever, that this product is now 50% recycled. Wow, that's market leading. They can see that in other countries, that's not the case. And they can begin to put pressure on the brands to apply that same technology and know-how that they already use in some countries to sub-Saharan Africa. Rather than going to the lowest common denominator, we want them to move to the highest common denominator. And it's a sad reality, but it's what I've observed over 20-something years living in Africa, is that it shouldn't be like this, but it's true. I'm not going to go into the politics, but consumers in the wealthy countries now have a voice with the brands. When they complain on social media, the brands can change very quickly. But consumers in developing countries tend not to be listened to. You buy some T-shirts, you do some singing and have a pop singer, and then you sell them something and they buy it. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. It's a different debate. But what we've noticed is that the brands listen more on social media to people in wealthy countries. And what we want to say is, if you've got a best practice that you're applying in one country, make a plan that within 5 years, you can roll that out to all countries. And that might even go to the level of saying, don't do new capital expenditure on a new plant in Rwanda, which is designed not to take recycled plastic. You know, do it using your best practice that you apply in other countries so that it's ready to take recycled plastic when the industry or initiatives like the GGGI or your Ministry of Environment are ready to give it. And that's something that why we really want to automate this and automate the putting of data on social media so that you get the highest common denominator everywhere and not the lowest common denominator. I hope that some way answers your question.
Thank you, Cameron. I know you have limited time. We also have one other question in the room from Faida.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cameron. It was good to use the Waste-Based app, but I'm wondering, I just want to acknowledge why you all focused on plastic bottles only, because when you go to the landfill, it's not about plastic bottles only. So it means that apart from the plastic bottles, other plastic are going to be dumped, are going to be flooded in the rivers of the oceans. So how can you improve the app just to add on other plastics? Thank you.
Very good question. The reason we started with plastic bottles, with the app, we do intend over the years to add other material types, is that plastic bottles have several characteristics that make them what you could call a low-hanging fruit to improve things. They're a good place to start. The first thing is they're made of PET and HDPE almost exclusively, which are two materials that are quite easy to recycle, unlike some kind mechanically and operationally. So that it's possible to recycle them with existing technology in Africa and other developing countries. The second thing is that there's a large volume of them. Actually, I've got 4 things, not 3. The third thing is that in many African countries over the last 15 to 20 years, they've replaced an existing and working system for glass bottles, which glass bottles were distributed. They had a value, they were returned empty, they were washed, and they were reused. So we actually went backwards. That system was got rid of, and everyone went to plastic bottles. So the final thing is that they're very easy to identify and link to the producer. If you look at plastic bags, they're often not easy to identify, the majority. If you look at biscuit liners, if you imagine a packet of biscuits, it's normally made of cardboard, you open it and you have that transparent plastic inside that holds the biscuits in place or wraps them. That generally has no branding on it. So it's a very difficult place to start. It doesn't mean that you don't have to deal with it, but the critical thing is extended producer responsibility. If you don't get the producers to be responsible, then all of these other clever ideas won't work. The producers have to put into the price of what they're selling the full cost of dealing with it. So we basically thought that bottles is something where there's a huge expansion of them being sold. There's a lot of effort going into selling them and pushing them everywhere. It's easy to identify the producer. Let's start by getting the producers of those bottles to accept extended responsibility. If that works, you've then got another step. But that's basically why we chose to start with bottles. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Cameron.
Okay.
Yes, a question from Sylvie.
Thank you very much, Cameron, for the good initiative and action on tackling the plastic waste and especially bottle from beverages. My questions, maybe I might have missed it, but I wanted to know how did you identify the data from Rwanda? Because I've seen only a few brands that produces beverages, yet there are others that should be distributed in the environment. So I wanted to know why we only see 2 or 3 renowned brands. Thank you.
That's based on basically when a product is found for the first time, the collector, so that would be Faida and the teams that she organized, put in the barcode and they put in the brand information. And then later on, we have various volunteers, not all in Rwanda, who go through and they, sometimes the data is right there. Sometimes you need to look it up on the internet and you map that product to a brand. And then you map that brand to the brand owner. So that's actually the data that was found. For instance, in that 17% I showed of brands that were not yet identified, there's quite a lot of products from Sulfo but they're products that were not found in a high volume, if you see what I mean. So they're there, but they were found a few 10 or 15 or 35 or something like that. Whereas the products that we showed there at the top, I can actually send you by email later the detailed breakdown with sort of the background information. But it was interesting that I think Faida might comment more, but I actually asked her, she found an awful lot of the energy drink from Azam, which is owned by Bakresha. So that's how it is. In terms of locating it to a country, the app automatically detects the geolocation of the user when it records a data point. So in this case, it'll automatically detect the location, the GPS coordinates, and also the country in which the user is that it's Rwanda, if you see what I mean. So that's the one. So there's two different countries we always have to consider. There's the country of registration of the ultimate owner of the brand, and there's the country in which a particular bottle was found, and they might be the same or they might be different. In this case, what we found surprisingly is that they were different for the majority of bottles. I know you've got an awful lot of successful Tanzanian manufacturers, and some of these companies are very big. You know, Bakresha is an Indian-owned family that's been doing this for 4 generations, and they do everything. They're a huge conglomerate, very successful, and they've obviously been successful at exporting their product throughout the region.
Thank you, Cameron. This is really helpful, and I hope it can set the stage for our next presenter. The next presenter is Faida Zubeda. She's from Save the Environment Initiative. She is the founder of SEI, and she led the data collection teams that went out to all the 6 secondary cities and also parts of Kigali and also Bugesera for doing the data collection for the portal. I should also mention that the data collection that was done, we're trying to make it as open and transparent as possible. A lot of times when assessments are done, they're in reports, they're not always published, the data isn't always available, but because we use this app and because we have the portal, we're trying to make the data as open as possible. And this data is really powerful because with these data, we're able to also push for accountability. So everyone is welcome to use the data. We can share the links so that everyone has access to it. So for the next presenter, I welcome Faida. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Faida Zubeda. I'm the founder of Save Environment Initiative. Starting by Save Environment Initiative is a non-governmental organization that is working to protect and conserve the environment. The environment is our concern. Can I have the PPT? Yeah, starting from that, in this March, we collected data around the country where that's why I had a lot of questions for, excuse me.
Yeah, while they're sorting out the presentation, I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure working with the Waste-Based app, but also with Save the Environment Initiative. I think just the action of having youth involved in this activity is something that's also very powerful. So I was hoping that Faida will be able to share with us also her perceptions and her opinion just based on what she saw, because these sites, normally people don't visit them. So we throw away what we have, we throw away our plastic and we don't think about it. But just the fact of tracking and accounting for this type of waste is something that's also very powerful. So I'm really pleased that we were able to involve the youth in this activity so we can hear about their perceptions and also their the impact that it had on them to be involved in this activity and to see the different sites, because the youth is a really important part of beating plastic pollution and being involved in the efforts to track and monitor and also to have accountability for plastic waste. So I'd like to thank SEI for all of their efforts.
ni wowe wa mbere ubizi ibyo byose urabizi nawe ni wowe wa mbere ubwira byose ahubwo ikibazo dufite ntabwo ashobora kutabizi igihe waba wakabigize
ibyo nari nzo utazi nabyo ndabifite.
While we sort out the presentation for Faida, let's switch the order a little bit. So we'll have Ange Tingabo present next. And that way we'll have time to fix the presentation for Faida. But Ange is working with the Global Green Growth Institute, Sustainable Waste Management. She's part of our team. And it's my pleasure to welcome her as our next speaker. Thank you.
Wenda ibyo nzi nawe urabizi ibyo ariko hari ibyo nshobora kuba nzi wowe utazi wenda ntabwo ashobora kuba aza kugaragariza ibyiyumviro bye kuko nk'urugero.
We have two other people here from SEI. Can you raise your hand? Yeah, can you introduce yourselves as well while we're sorting out the presentations?
buriya ndakubaha kuko mu bantu bose bakubwira nibura niba wumuzi nibura nyine ni we muntu ashobora kuba yarafungukiye agakubwira gutya. urabona nyine ari igihe cyose gishize bitameze neza. Reba kuva kuri aniveriseri nako na mbere yaho iki gihe ni kinini muri relationship. Iki gihe ni kinini gishobora gutuma ucika intege ukajya down hahandi no kuzamuka bizasaba gushika. Nisono ngibikeza nawe biba ntabwo nyine wambwira ngo ntabwo
icyo nshaka kumabwiriza ntabwo ushyira isabwe kugira ngo niba niba gufunga sina kandi yishyize mu kirere n'ubu yagufunga.
Shaka mubwire fre ni ukuri reva gufungukira nzi
as one who in a team of which collected those data. My input is this data we collected. We have to share with some institutions like academic because some researchers can make research on it. For example, on my observation, I found that on Rusizi, those plastic from energy are more than others landfill. So anyone who are calling research can think him or herself why these people are consuming much energy than others. There are some research that are there. So what I emphasize to share these data for some institutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
the landfill comes, it all collects that plastic that are rejected or dumped in the landfill toward our rivers, toward our ocean. And that's that's not what we want for the future generation. That's not what we want as the present generation. We need to stop it because it's an emergent and urgent sector. Next, please. Yes, after this presentation or this meeting, what are you doing to stop the plastic pollution? It's not my concern, it's not GGI concern, it's everyone concerned. So what are you doing to stop it? That is, because when you go back in the streets, you will find young people are the one that are causing or contributing to the plastic pollution, because I'm the one who are thirsty with water. When I buy like one bottle of water for 500,000, I mean 500, yes, I will dump it. I'm not gonna know where is this plastic going to be? Where is this plastic going to be recycled? I think we should think twice before buying like this beverage. In Rwanda, we find out beverages are the one that are contributing a lot for our plastic pollution. But it's not only beverages, because we highlighted that the other plastic are not included in our data collection. But it's not about bottle plastics. We should also include other plastic to be known, because it's not about plastic only that should be known. Again, I would like to give like a take-home message. Just use reusable things. Just use things with thinking like, what am my contribution to the environment? What am my contribution to myself? Yes, thank you very much. This is our information as an environment initiative.
Thank you so much, Faida. As you said, we all need to do more. And I think this web portal and this event is just a small contribution to doing that, but hopefully it will also be a call to action for all of the different actors and stakeholders to also play a role. We're coming to the end of our program. We have next a presentation of certificates of appreciation for the volunteers from Save the Environment Initiative. And then we will have a memorial activity, and then we'll have closing remarks, and then we will close the session for today. So for the certificates, I would like to invite Anj to present the certificates to the individuals that are here. We also have the certificates for the rest of the SEI team. And I would also like to invite my colleague Juvenile, if you would be so kind to also take a photo with the certificate recipients in recognition of their efforts and also of the data collection that they did as part of the web portal launch. So Anj, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to invite Juvenal to be close to me. Yeah. Let's start with their team leader, Faida Zubeda. Ishimwe Clement. Rwagatore Evariste. Kubwimana Concorde. Nizeyimana Jean Nepo. Thank you so much, Juvenal. I think for the remaining people, I will give the certificate to Zubeda. He will give them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't think people realize how much work they put into this. They collected data from thousands of bottles at different sites all over the country, and this is a really unique experience. And I don't think we appreciate just how much work was put into this. This is not easy work. Data collection is really tedious at times, and they did a fantastic job. So I'm thrilled that they were able to be a part of this project. The next activity we have, it's a memorial activity. I would like to invite Sylvie from CPCIC to provide some remarks. This is in recognition of the recent loss that we had from the community, Stephen Nyonzima. And we have a spoken word artist that will be providing a poem in recognition of Stephen's contribution to the field and also his work. So Sylvie, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again for this moment. I don't know if I would have much to say, but it's appreciation. We really appreciate the GGGI team for the support and being together with the CPCIC during the hard time how we passed through. It was last year, September. That's when really we were caught in a tsunami, because we have hoped for the best. We have hoped Stephen Nyonzima to be here to see the youth and the women being involved in the environmental actions. We have hoped to see Stephen leading the cleaner production and climate innovation center to realization and achieving its mission. We have believed to see the CPCIC growing in terms of people, in terms of reaching out to industry, to public institution, to people, to the community, because he really believed in the improvement. What we are seeing as a challenge for him, it was an opportunity. So designing projects, working with the industry and everyone in the sector was his passion. It was not his job, and we cannot even say that it was paying, but it was his mission on earth. But what comforted me most is that he said, CPCI, I'm here to establish the Cleaner Production and Climate Innovation Center, and I hope, and I'm sure he did, because now we can say CPCIC, even being here, being able to pronounce CPCIC, it means it is here, it is established. We have a brand that is there and still under construction, but we know that people are being involved and they have the center at heart, not only for him, but because they believe we can do what was there. So thank you very much, GGGI, for this time. And everyone, I also thank his family, because I know it was also a hard time for them. I don't know if they were able to join online, but they are invited. And we also tell them that this moment was held. And I hope it is the first, but not the least. More need to be done, even on their side. There are more initiatives they are thinking of, because he left young. The young ones were really small. They need to live the dream of their father from where he left the activity, because environment was not only in profession, it was his way of living. So they know that there was something their father was doing. So thank you really very much. And I would like to give the floor to someone. It's a good gift. I appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvie. So thank you. Yes, I would like to introduce Naleli Rugege. She is a poet and a fashion designer and a spoken word artist, and she'll be providing some words in remembrance of Stephen's passing. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I've seen such remarkable presentations. And Sylvie, thank you for inviting me. I hope this is a deserving tribute. I wonder where the sun sets. I wonder where the sun sets with all our dreams and all our means and purpose of a sustainable future, where we reuse, refurbish, recycle existing materials, all in tribute of repairing our environment. Green technologies, much like life's philosophies, are not far removed from the ethical principle we all have to embrace in our circular economy, where the solution is not out there, but focus on you and me. We are the green economy, the agents of change that will catapult the value chain of productivity forward. To merit resourcefulness is to govern the winds of change, of climate change, and efficiently guide the reins into reusable energy, possibly recreate electricity, and create innovative solutions that comply with our trajectory. That is the vision we want to keep. That is the pact we want to make. It is through demonstrating these high ideals that we can remain accountable to everyone who has a stake in that future. But we must do the work and take initiative, be transparent with our plans so that the execution can see light. And even in the light is reusable energy, where joint actions hold a firm alliance of continuous progress. How do we establish ourselves in cleaner technologies? How do we as businesses implement these pillars of philosophies, pillars into our industries? A decade-old question, realizing itself through portals of conversation, merging our creativity to resolve complex issues by using a collective imagination. From great leadership in government that adopts our youth into inspired participation, to communities aligned with this dedication, I think there is no better way than forward. To have green growth ambition, it's not just a mindset, but a decision. It is the world we hope to live in and the country we so carefully want to keep. While managing the operations of climate change and calling Earth resilient, we need to understand that Earth is sufficient. She is worth investing in. It is our duty to minimize waste because she is sufficient, sufficient enough to invest in and nurture. She is the reach into the future, the bearer of all seeds, holding us with her extended right hand so as to pull us onwards, so that we can say we did it. We were clean, we were green, we were efficient and modern in our thinking. This poem is written in great tribute to Mr. Stephen Niyonzima, a leader of remarkable impact in Rwanda's green economy towards climate change. A dedicated family man, a patient mentor, a sound advisor, a gracious man of God in all who knew him. How do we say goodbye? How do we say goodbye? We don't. He is in the policies and the partnerships and the infrastructures he pioneered. He is in the firm belief system that there are no shortcuts, but bridges that must be built to aid progress. He is in the legacy of his children and in the friendships he has sealed. He is here. A final quote by the great engineer, Mr. Stephen Niyonzima. The guiding principles should be, to have well-defined economic growth and poverty reduction, strategies that will promote sustainability of the environment and its natural resources. Rest in power. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naleli. Thank you, Sylvie. With that, that concludes our last part of the portion of the event today. I would like to thank, first and foremost, the UK government that was the donor and the funder for this activity. I'd also like to thank again Save the Environment Initiative, as well as COPED and the waste collecting and plastic recycling companies that were able to provide us with access to the sites to collect data. I'd also like to thank all of the stakeholders that were involved in the event today. And as Faida mentioned, everyone has a role to play, everyone has a part. And I hope that people can see that here, that we're joining online. Youth have a part, women and different creatives, web development experts, everyone has a part to play. And we hope that people will start to use the portal and provide feedback so that we can continue to improve upon it and make it more useful and more informative. So with that, I'd like to close the event. We will do a group photo once we exit the room. Pam will lead us to take the group photo outside. And then we have lunch that will be served in the next room. So if you could please stay with us for the group photo and also for lunch. And in the meantime, for people that are joining online, please feel free to reach out to us to provide feedback and information and your opinion on the web portal to improve its use. Thank you, everyone. And we appreciate your time today and also the feedback that you were so kind to give us so far on the portal. We look forward to engaging and interacting with you in the future. Thank you.